Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Surabhyaya Namaha
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 Mukham karoti vachalam pangum rangayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam class, and we are still in chapter 7, Canto 7.
7.
You can
14th and 10th.
14th chapter
And 10th verse. Guru Maharaj.
and 10, 14. So that is canto number 7, 14th chapter, and text number 10, 10.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yes. Trivargam Nati Kritshrena Bhajata Griha Midhi Api Yatha Desham Yatha Kalam Yavat Daiva Upapaditam Trivargam Nati Kritshrena Bhajeta Griha Medyapi Yatha Desham Yatha Kalam Yavad Daivo Papaditam Trivargam Nati Kritshrena Bhajeta Griha Medyapi Yatha Desham Yatha Kalam Yavad Daivo Papaditam Trivargam Nati Kritshrena Bhajeta Griha Medyapi Yatha Desham Yatha Kalam Yavad Daivo Papaditam
Trivargam Nati Kritshrena Bhajeta Grihamedhyapi Yatha Desham Yatha Kalam Yavad Daivo Papaditam Trivargam Nati Kritshrena
Bhajeta Grihamedhyapi Yatha Desham Yatha Kalam Yavad Daivo Papaditam
त्रिवर्गं नातिकृच्छेन
त्रिवर्गं नातिकृच्छ्रेण
भजता गृहमेदपि
भजेता गृहमेदपि
यथा देशं यथा कालं
यथा देशं यथा कालं
यावद्दैव उपपादितं
यावदैव उपादितं
Trivargam.
त्रिवर्गं
Three principles,
three principles,
namely religiosity,
namely religiosity,
economic development,
economic development,
development,
and sense gratification.
and sense gratification.
Na,
na
not.
Not
Ati kritsrena,
atikrichrena
by very severe endeavor.
by very severe endeavor.
endeavor.
Bhajata,
Bhajata
should execute.
Should execute
Grihamedhi,
grihamedhi.
a person interested
A person interested
only in family life.
only in family life.
Api,
Api,
although.
although
Yatha desham,
yatha desham,
according to the place.
according to the place.
Yatha kalam,
Yatha kalam,
according to the time.
according to time.
Yavat,
Yavat,
as much as.
as much as.
Daiva,
Daiva,
by the grace of the Lord.
by the grace of the Lord.
Upapaditam,
Upapaditam,
obtained.
obtained.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi, or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma. Kindly repeat after me. Even if one is a householder,
Even if one is a householder,
rather than a brahmachari,
Rather than a brahmachari,
a sannyasi, or a vanaprastha,
a sannyasi or a vanaprastha,
one should not endeavor
one should not endeavor
very hard for religiosity,
very hard for religiosity,
economic development,
economic development,
or satisfaction of the senses.
satisfaction of the senses.
Even in householder life,
even in householder life,
one should be satisfied
one should be satisfied
to maintain body and soul together
To maintain body and soul together
with whatever is available
with whatever is available,
with minimum endeavor,
with minimum endeavor,
according to place and time,
according to place and time,
by the grace of the Lord.
by the grace of the Lord.
One should not engage oneself
One should not engage oneself
in ugra karma.
in ugra karma.
Purport. In human life, there are four principles to be to be fulfilled. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Religion, economic development, the sense gratification, and liberation. First, one should be religious, observing various rules and regulations, and then one must earn some money for maintenance of his family and the satisfaction of his senses. The most important ceremony for sense gratification is marriage, because sexual intercourse is one of the principal necessities of the material body. Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukam itucham. Although sexual intercourse is not a very exalted requisite in life, both animals and men require some sense gratification because of material propensities. one should be satisfied with married life and not expend energy for extra sense gratification or sex life. As for economic development, the responsibility for this should be entrusted mainly to the Vaishyas and Grihastas. Human society should be divided into Varnas and Ashramas. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Economic development is necessary for Grihastas. Brahmana Grihastas should be satisfied with a life of adhyayana, adhyapana, yajana, being learned scholars, teaching others to be scholars, learning how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and also teaching others how to worship Lord Vishnu, or even the demigods. A Brahmana should do this without remuneration, but he is allowed to accept charity from a person whom he teaches how to be a human being. As for the Kshatriyas, they're supposed to be the kings of the land, and the land should be distributed to the Vaishyas for agricultural activities, cow protection and trade. Shudras must work. Sometimes they should engage in occupational duties as cloth manufacturers, weavers, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, brassmiths, and so on, or else they should engage in hard labor to produce food grains. These are the different occupational duties by which men should earn their livelihood. And in this way, human society should be simple. At the present moment, however, everyone is engaged in technological advancement, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Ugra Karma. Extremely severe endeavor. Men are engaging in many sinful activities and becoming degraded by opening slaughterhouses, breweries, and cigarette factories, as well as nightclubs and other establishments for sense enjoyment. In this way, they are spoiling their lives. In all of these activities, of course, householders are involved, and therefore it is advised here, with the use of the word api, that even though one is a householder, one should not engage himself in severe hardships. One's means of livelihood should be extremely simple. As for those who are not grihastas, the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis, they don't have to do anything but strive for advancement in spiritual life. This means that 3/4 of the entire population should stop sense gratification. Natural conclusion. And simply be engaged in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. Only 1/4 of the population should be grihastha. 25%. And that should be according to laws of restricted sense gratification. The grihastas, vanaprasthas, brahmacharis, and sannyasis should endeavor together with their total energy to become Krishna conscious. This type of civilization is called Daiva Varnasrama. One of the objectives of the Krishna Consciousness movement is to establish this Daiva Varnasrama, but not to encourage so-called Varnasrama without scientifically organized endeavor by human society.
We miss one line in third para, very important.
Third paragraph.
Yeah. Ugra karma, extremely severe endeavor. This Ugra karma is the cause of agitation within the human mind. Is this one?
Yes. I'll read it again. At the present moment, however, everyone is engaged in technological advancement, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Ugra Karma, extremely severe endeavor. This Ugra Karma is a cause of agitation within the human mind. Yes. So the translation again to the text, even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi, or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available, with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in Ugra Karma. So naturally, in this section, these 5 chapters, spoken mainly by Sri Narada Muni, from so many different angles we are trying to understand about Varnasrama. And one of the important points, main point in this particular verse, is that because each of these 4 divisions, each of the 4 varnas are connected with asana, beginning with brahmacharya ashram, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. And therefore it means that every member of society, regardless of one's ashram, must be focused on endeavoring for self-realization. And if one is overly preoccupied by material activities, one will become anxious, one will not have sufficient time, and one will not be able to properly devote oneself to practicing Krishna consciousness. The whole intent of the Vedic culture is to actually minimize our material activities, minimize our our material needs, minimize our needs for sense gratification. And this begins, of course, by regulation, by becoming regulated. That is referred to by our acharyas as sadhana bhakti, where one accepts, voluntarily accepts to follow various rules and regulations. And what is surprising for in this particular verse is that even householders should not be endeavoring hard for their livelihood. Householders are the only ones who actually work for a livelihood. As nicely analyzed here by Srila Prabhupada, it means that out of the four ashramas, three are meant to be very strict in following the principles of tapasya, beginning with brahmachari. Tapasya brahmacharyena samena cha damena cha. If one is fortunate to be exposed to that training from a young age, how to control the mind, how to control the senses. Gurukul is especially devised to enable a young boy to control the mind, to control the senses, to develop character. Vedic culture, Vedic education in the early stage puts emphasis on what is called character formation. How to be an ideal human being. Ideal human being, we read in the earlier chapters of this canto, of this last portion, chapter 11 actually, is by developing these 30 qualities. Most people are unaware that actually there are 30 qualities to be developed in the human form of life. And developing these qualities will not necessarily make one spiritual, but will facilitate one's becoming more regulated, more learned, because one of those activities is to regularly hear from Shastra. One of the important texts we were reading last week, the very beginning of those series of verses, Srinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Ridyantasto Yavadrani Vidunoti Saritsatam. Most important that we engage in this process of hearing on a regular basis. Srila Prabhupada was nicely explaining how this transcendental sound vibration of the Bhagavatam, this transcendental sound vibration of the holy name, is directly Krishna himself, non-different from Krishna. Of course, we don't immediately understand or realize this, but the effect still is taking place. Just like as we get closer to fire, the the heat, we will get the benefit of the heat. So as we associate with the sound, transcendental sound vibration of the Bhagavatam, of the Vedic literatures, then we will more easily develop this this mentality of learning to, as Prabhupada would explain, learning to be satisfied with the minimum. Whereas in modern day society, so many people, vast majority of people are endeavoring, are striving, working very hard to get the maximum, to get as much as possible. Just see the difference. Even in this culture where people are endeavoring to get the maximum, how many people are actually satisfied? Nobody. Nobody can be satisfied, actually, because satisfaction or happiness is not possible on that platform, on that level. Whereas we have so many wonderful examples of those who are following this culture and who have, materially speaking, practically nothing. Yet they are fully happy and satisfied. This Kolabesa Sridhar, who was in Navadvip simply for a livelihood, selling banana leaves, is it? I mean, you can't really become a crorepati by selling banana leaves. Can't become a millionaire. And yet, whatever he would earn by selling these banana leaves, 50% he would offer to the Ganges. He would make offering in the Ganges. This is that's one section in the Bhagavatam householders don't like to read. 50% of one's income should be given for spreading Krishna consciousness, isn't it? If we actually understand that the primary goal and purpose of life is, first of all, to be ourselves Krishna conscious, and then to endeavor and help as many people as possible to become Krishna conscious. And it is the householders who have bank accounts. Things have changed a little bit sometimes. Well, for preaching purposes, it is not like it used to be exactly, but it means that actually householders are the ones, as mentioned here, who are generally earning, and they have a big responsibility, actually. It's like when they're meant to support 75% of the population. That's a big responsibility. So it is very different than modern day society, but we can understand this is one of the basic instructions in the Bhagavad Gita that the more we are preoccupied with our material senses and our material mind and our material intelligence, yes, then we get entangled. We get conditioned more and more by the modes of material nature. Manasastrani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. Our association, our connection, our preoccupation with our material senses, with our material mind, is what is actually conditioning us heavily. And karshati is translated as hard struggle, our hard struggle for existence simply continues. Will continue as long as we remain on that platform. So therefore, in the Vedic culture, one understands that whatever my material situation may be, I should not overly endeavor to to get out of that particular situation, as so many people are trying to do. One should, in the Vedic culture, one accepts what is called providence. One understands, because that's one of the important instructions also in the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna there are 5 factors involved for any activity to be successful. Anyone know what that verse is? 5 activities that must be there for any activity to come out successfully. I don't know the verse by heart. But it is very significant. Of course, the person, the place,
Karma,
the activity,
endeavor,
the endeavor,
karta, karma,
and what is number 5? Which is the most important?
Paramatma.
Krishna. Yeah. Means for anything to actually succeed, it must be willed or sanctioned by Krishna. Yeah. Some people translate that as, you have that verse? You can read it? Yeah. Daiva.
Adhishtanam tata karta karanam cha pritak vidam vividascha pritak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action.
Yes. So, this is unknown to actually the vast majority of people, because the vast majority of people don't read the Bhagavad Gita and are not connected with Vedic culture. One who is fortunate to be born in the Vedic culture, this is considered a basic instruction actually, that nothing, if it is not desired by the Lord, if it is not sanctioned by the Lord, then it will not actually take place. So this verse is speaking about the 4 basic, we could say, components of the Vedic culture: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And artha and kama is not necessarily a bad thing. For our daily necessities of life, artha is necessary because the body has basic needs to be fulfilled. But a devotee has a different understanding about this dharma, artha, kama, moksha than non-devotees. But non-devotees generally don't even know or understand. And what is, of course, when we read the Bhagavatam, we come to know that all of our kama, all of our needs, all of our material necessities of life can easily be gotten, can easily be obtained from the land. This is like a major theme which in modern day society is totally unknown. And that theme is actually the basis of Vedic economics. We were talking about Vedic economy a little earlier. So Vedic economy is based on this concept and principle. Sarva kama, yes. All necessities of life are generated, are coming from Mahi, from the land, yes. And therefore, this concept It is actually, in as much as dharma is an eternal concept, Bhagavat dharma, which is the activity of the soul, is an eternal activity, eternal concept. Varnasrama dharma, this way of living off the land. Off the land means in harmony with the land, not in terms of exploitation of the land, is the perfect system, perfect way by which man can actually very easily and sufficiently, more than sufficiently actually, meet all of one's basic needs of life. I remember some years back, one devotee who was, his parents were farmers, and we had obtained some land, some devotees. So he was mentioning that actually, and I'm sure many people here in India who have that connection or experience with land, that when you have just even 2 acres of land, if you are cultivating, looking after that land, you get more than what you need. You get in abundance to meet the needs, let's say, of a ordinary family. So in other words, it is Krishna's part of his perfect arrangement for society, for human society, to take from the land, to learn how to meet all of one's necessities, and to arrange one's life in such a way that one will give maximum amount of time for cultivation of spiritual life. We can see by this arrangement here, I mean, the 75% of the population is meant to simply be concerned about developing spiritual life. A brahmachari is not concerned about where money is coming from. Vanaprastha is also, he's left. Family life, sannyas also. None of these are preoccupied. None of them are supposed to be preoccupied. And what is being mentioned here, even a householder, he should avoid becoming overly preoccupied. In one other purport, I believe maybe previous chapter, Prabhupada explains nicely how a householder should try to find a means of livelihood that is very simple, that will take minimum amount of time, and that will be the least taxing to his brain. Something that will enable him simply to meet his basic necessities of life, and the rest of his time will be to practice spiritual life, to practice Krishna consciousness. This is what is meant to be the arrangement. This is what Krishna is, through his devotee Narada Muni, is instructing. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada very much wanted that we demonstrate, that we establish and demonstrate this type of lifestyle. And that is that is only possible, let's say, on a full scale, On a full scale, this can only be developed in a rural environment. That's why village life is prominent, and that is why also Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chooses this lifestyle to show us by example. So this is only possible, this minimizing one's material necessities of life is only possible if we accept that the goal of life is actually to become self-realized. So if that is missing, it's practically impossible to even understand what is being explained here. Only devotees can have access to, what is being. And what was the verse? Not the verse, but the line. Yeah, I had missed. Ugra karma. This ugra karma is a cause of agitation within the human mind. Yeah. I'll just read the text again. Today we have a little special day, actually. A short ceremony is to follow Bhagavatam class, is it? Yeah. So I'll just read the text. I think we may not have time for much discussion here. Even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available, with minimum endeavor, according to place and time. By the grace of the Lord, one should not engage oneself in ugra karma. Yeah. Any quick comment or question? Things are ready for this. Yeah. Ramlakshman Prabhu is here. Yes. So, since some of us are actually leaving tomorrow morning, and that is ongoing.
Cow products manufacturing and Ayurveda running is still left, but we have mentioned in the.
Okay. Yeah. It's a transcendental kind of. So today, actually, we are fortunate again this year to have at our Sayadri Sri Krishna Balam Kshetra SSKBK Varnasrama College, which is ongoing, and every year at the end of the course, and sometimes just a few days before, like today, we hand out this certificate. This is certificate of attendance, and all those who have attended.
Those who have coordinated.
Huh?
Those who have coordinated.
Those who have coordinated and attended. The names are given along with the date and the various subjects that you have taken. The percentage is not given here.
The courses are more than the columns left there.
Okay. So we will, how we will do this? We'll call one by one.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah?
One by one, yeah.
Okay. Ram Lakshman Prabhu, not Ram Lakshman Prabhu, but Rameshwar Prabhu has his magic box.
Yes, Prabhu. That is
Oh, there it is. So we can give both at the same time?
Yes, Prabhu. That is better.
That's extra, eh? Okay.
One by one, he will call the certificates.
Okay.
There are more certificates. Okay, Maharaj has photo signed. We are yet to.
Yeah, so just call very slowly.
Yes.
Or you can actually...
Giri Yadav Prabhu.
Somebody giving me a pen that's not writing. Okay, just starting. Did some devotees specialize in any particular course, or date is here, huh? Yeah. Okay. So this is Giri Yadav Prabhu, your certificate. Kindly accept. Hare Krishna. Okay.
G Sandesh.
G Sandesh. What does G stand for?
Family name. Sandesh. Next to Uday Kiran.
Sandesh G. Go Seva, Yoga, Ayurveda, products, astrology. My God. It's like a real pandit here. Hare Krishna. Okay. Prasadam I'll give after. Otherwise.
Uday Kiran. Next is Dhanraj.
Okay. Uday Kiran Ji. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay.
तो लास्ट में एक ग्रुप फोटो रहेगा सब लोग इधर
Ganesh. Next.
ग्रुप फोटो विद ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स नहीं आया क्या नेक्स्ट
Dhanraj Ji. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Ganesh. Next to Tukaram.
आपका निकाल रहा है
रामेश्वर के पास जाके पावर बैंक मांग लो हो रहा है 2%.
Can I remove the mic, Guru Maharaj?
Ganesh Ji. Hare Krishna.
Tukaram next.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Tukaram. Our,
Shri Krishna Raju.
okay, his first subject is cooking. He is a cook. Any cooks in his family? Any cook in his family?
आपके घर में कोई कुकिंग करते हैं पहले आपसे ब्रदर आपका
भैया
Brother?
Yeah.
Brother? Yeah?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Okay.
Next कौन
Srinath.
last coordinators
Oh, last are the coordinators. First one is Go Seva. Which activity?
yes Guru Maharaj
Yeah. Huh?
you
Okay.
can go say over there
Vamsi Krishna Raj. Hey, you're too ecstatic.